It is 7:59. It is completely dark over there. I don't have a very good campsite staked out, but this is what we got. I really just want it to be morning, but it's only 8 p.m. On September 22nd, 2023, I took my hiking gear, my camping gear, and honestly a bunch of other random stuff and put it in my car. I left my home in Raleigh, North Carolina to do what I want to do with my life, which is travel. I was terrified. I didn't really have anything figured out, but I knew that I could if I just took the first step towards what I'd been hoping for. So I left Raleigh and headed west. I traveled to Sylva, North Carolina, where I met up with my brothers and my mom for Western Carolina University's family weekend. We took a 3-mile hike in Gorgeous State Park to Rainbow Falls. My jaw hit the floor when I saw this waterfall because I had no idea there were waterfalls this colossal in North Carolina. When the short weekend visiting with my family came to an end, I said pretty hasty goodbyes, and I felt pretty doomed and terrified, honestly. I was learning how to set up the satellite GPS device that I had in the hotel lobby with continuous anxious thoughts running around my head because being on my own and sleeping outside by myself was closer to me than it ever had been before. Like, I knew I'd be doing it within the next 8 hours. I would be outside in the dark alone, but I still just couldn't picture myself doing it. Regardless, I found the entrance I wanted to use to go into Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and I drove along the Blue Ridge Parkway to get there. Then, after speaking to some rangers, I acquired a permit to stay at Campsite 60 on the Deep Creek Trail. This is the pack that I packed to go out with me, the 2.6 miles to the campsite that night. I wasn't really vlogging, so to say, like anything at this point since everything was so new to me. So the only footage I have is from when I got to the campsite, and I will show you that now. Here I am at the campsite. I got a nice little clearing over here. Ooh, some kind of bird over there. I got the fungi with me tonight. The mushrooms. The mushrooms. I'm excited. I ate my dinner and then hung my bear bag in the tree so that the bears wouldn't get to it while I was sleeping. And then I had a pretty uneventful night. I was cozy in my sleeping bag and I was excited when I woke up in the morning. Hooray! I did it. And thus begins the story of my excitement turning into absolute delusion, because the night before I had hiked out, as you know, the 2.6 miles to campsite 60. Super easy hike, straight shot back to the car in the morning. But when I woke up in the morning, my brain was so pumped that I'd made it through the night that I was like, oh, that's way too few miles for me to do right now. I think I could make it like 6 miles easy. And I was like, it's just not exciting for me to go like straight back to the car. I want to actually hike. I was like, so it was the first morning I'd like been living this new life. And I was like, I want to go do this. So I'd also mapped out the night before, not as meticulously, as you'll see in a moment, but I'd mapped out the rest of like the loop that I could take to get back to the parking lot. And in my brain, that loop was about 6 miles. And I was like, well, that's perfect for a morning hike, 6 miles. So I packed up all of my things and I hiked in the opposite direction that I had originally planned to hike back to my car in. I still thought I was going to make it back to my car around like 11 a.m. It was like 7 when I woke up. That's not what happened because I was hiking and hiking and hiking and hiking and hiking. And I was supposed to hit these like landmarks that I had mapped out on my map the night earlier if I wanted to do this loop. And I hadn't hit any of them yet. And I'd been hiking for like 40 plus minutes. And I assumed that one of them was only like 10 minutes away. So I was slowly starting to realize maybe this loop is longer than I thought it was. But I kind of pushed those thoughts aside in my excited brain. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. So I was with my trekking poles and everything. I was like, I got this. So I was all alone for a while. And this man comes up behind me and I end up hiking part of the next section with him. He was actually through hiking or at least hiking a section of the Mountains to Sea Trail. I don't remember which. So it kind of crosses over with the Great Smoky Mountains National Park trails. And the trail we were on was the Deep Creek Trail. At least that's the one I started out the loop on. It was really fun to hike with someone after having been alone for like 2+ hours in the morning. The person I ran into is actually really, really cool. And I want to plug his stuff because he's got a book about hiking the Appalachian Trail. He's a geologist. And we were talking about like math and geology and lots of fun things. But I also really wanted to give the impression while I was talking to him that I wasn't just shooting from the hip, because I kind of was at the moment. I had realized when we had kept hiking together, I thought, to be fair, I thought I was on the right path the entire time I was hiking with him. And I had even checked and been like, this is the way I'm going. And then he was like, oh, that's the way I'm going too. So we hiked on together. And I don't regret that at all, because it was so fun. I especially enjoy meeting people that give me that sense of wonder, that like I can see them fulfilling it for themselves in their life. And I really, really like, that is just what I want to be. So eventually my hiking companion took a break and I decided to keep hiking, because I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm like nowhere near close to being back yet. And I really want to get back to the car, at least before the sun goes down, because I have to find another place to camp. I told him I was just going to keep going. So I trek on for like maybe like 0.8 miles. And I look at the app on my phone with all my mappings, and I see that the little dot that's tracking where I am has gone like way up above any of my like trackers and markings. And my stomach just like dropped. I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't do it. So I was like, oh my goodness, I just hiked almost 2 miles in the wrong direction. So I started hiking back. I passed my hiking companion again. I was like, I went the wrong way, but it's all cool because I know where I'm going, which I did. I did know where I was going. Then I just started like running. So every downhill I was like sprinting, because I was like, I cannot keep doing this. I have been hiking for almost like 5 hours at this point. So I got back to where I was as quickly as I could. And there's all these like signs. And I looked and I was like, okay, I know the one I have to go on. And then I looked at the distance it was going to take for me to get back from there to the parking lot. And it was 6 miles. And I was like, no. I had already hiked over 6 miles that morning. So I started hiking. I'm running. I'm trying to get out of there as fast as I can. And here's the literal only piece of footage that I took from that. Am I gonna make it the next 3 miles to then go 2 miles? Oh my gosh. I did not plan on doing a half marathon this morning. I genuinely thought it was gonna be like 6 miles and I'd be out. Disastrous. Finally, I get to like 4.5 miles into that last 6 miles. And I'm on top of this like hill. And there's 2 signs, and I know which way I'm going. It says like 1.5 miles to the parking lot or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just can't. I can't do it. So I sat down and I stayed there for almost 45 minutes. I finally put my gear back on, packed my sit pad away, and started down the hill for the last 1.5 miles. I got back to the parking lot at 4 p.m. I just sat there in the driver's seat. And I was like, oh no, I have to find a place to camp tonight because the sun's gonna go down at like 7:30. I think I technically could have gotten the same campsite. It's just that I did not want to go back there. I wanted to do a different one, and I wanted it to be close. So it was supposed to be like 3.1 miles. And I was like, okay, I can do it. So I'm about to descend to go to the Forney Creek Trail, where my campsite is for the night. As you can tell, I got here insanely late. So if there's a nicer spot to camp along the way, I will not be going the full miles to get there. This was a nice walk down the trail until it got dark. I made it about 0.8 miles down the trail, and I was honestly frantically looking for somewhere to pitch my tent that wasn't gonna have me have to go 3 miles to get there to the campsite. But I couldn't find anywhere because this trail is so narrow and it's kind of just carved downwards in the side of this mountain. But once it got dark, I felt that I had no other choice. I was way too scared. So I just decided to find the flattest space that I could right next to the trail and get to work setting up my tent there. 7:59. It is completely dark over there. I don't have a very good campsite staked out, but this is what we got. I really just want it to be morning, but it's only 8 p.m. This was such a chaotic night. It was so chaotic. I just wanted to not be there. At first, everything was normal. I set up my tent. I was terrified. I got inside. I was terrified. And the second I got inside, I started going, whoop, right into that little tree that you saw in the clip from earlier for the next 3 hours, trying to sleep, mostly listening to a podcast so I wouldn't be terrified. So once it hit 11 p.m. and I'd been trying to sleep for almost 3 hours, I was like, this is absolutely useless. It is so early in the night. I'm never gonna make it through the next 7 hours before the sun comes up. My phone battery is not gonna make it the next 7 hours till the sun comes up to like keep me occupied for all that time when I know I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep. So I got out of my tent, I packed up all of my things extremely quickly, and I ran up the entire 0.8 miles of the trail that I had just walked down. So not 4 hours later was I back up at the car. I still hadn't really figured out how to sleep in my car. My car was a mess at this point. Like just all the random stuff I said I put in there earlier, like literally like filled to the brim. I would not have been able to move things around enough to like be able to sleep in there. So I drove into Gatlinburg to get a hotel for the night. And you might think that the story ends there with me sleeping peacefully, but it does not. It does not. It continues. So I was signing the documents. And he was like, oh, by the way, you have a non-smoking room and there's like a $200 smoking fee policy. And I was like, oh, that's cool because I don't smoke. And I go into the room. I'm really hungry, haven't eaten in a while, but I also need to go to the bathroom. So I put my ramen in my little camp stove pot. I put it in the microwave, not thinking anything about it. And I go to the bathroom. I get out of the bathroom and the microwave is on fire. It's on fire, like inside the microwave. So I run to the microwave, I'm like popping it open, there's smoke going everywhere. I'm like, no! So I close the microwave back up, but it's off. Without even thinking about it, when I got to the hotel room, I was using my camp stove pot, which is not microwave safe and also has a little bit of plastic on it, on the handle. So that's the part that was on fire. I put it out. And then I was like, what am I gonna do with this microwave? It's gonna fill smoke in the room and I'm gonna have to pay like $200 for the smoking fee and I'm so tired and I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated. So I unplugged the microwave. I took it out to the balcony and like let all the smoke go out while making sure that I didn't get it in the room. I put the pot in the refrigerator and I was like, I'm going to bed. So I went to bed. I put an alarm on my phone to wake up extra early so I could clean the microwave out and everything. So I actually did a pretty good job. The only part that you could see that was burnt was like the top of it. And it was totally functional. I plugged it back in, checked that it was safe and everything, like I know about microwave safety, but you know, I did my due diligence. I cleaned out the refrigerator and there wasn't really much in it, just a little bit of ash. And I like aired out the room and I was like, I still think I'm gonna get hit with that like smoking fee. And I was like, well, you know, I guess it's not the end of the world, but I mean, that's how I ended the first like 48 hours of my trip, my solo trip. And honestly, it's more than anything I could have asked for because I love stories and I love telling stories and I like having stories to tell. And the universe just really gifted me a really fun 48 hours there to look back on. So in the next video, I will pick up with the morning after the microwave debacle. Sorry there wasn't a lot of footage for this video. I kind of had to like splice in stuff of me like right now, which I don't really know if I want to keep doing that. It's kind of like jumping back and forth a lot. I have a lot more footage coming up. It just took me like a week or so to really get into the whole vlogging, filming thing.